You finally wrote the book. You poured your heart, your story, and your most vulnerable moments onto the page. And for my guest, Pamela, that meant carrying a story inside her for over 40 years before feeling called to write it down. Pamela's son was diagnosed with CMV, a virus that caused him multiple profound disabilities at birth. And she's now written a memoir to help others called Grief, Grit, Glory, a mother's extraordinary journey from heartbreak to hope. I recently connected with Pamela through PodMatch, and I knew God wanted her on my show to encourage your heart as well as mine. Today, Pamela is sharing both the journey of writing something deeply personal and what she's doing to get her message out into the world. Your heart's in for a treat today, so let's get to it. Welcome, Pamela, to Book Marketing Mania. I'm so thrilled you're here today to serve my listeners.
Thanks, Kim, for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, me too. So let's talk about your book, Grief, Grit, Glory. So can you tell us just a little bit about your journey, Pamela, of deciding to, you're being called to write this book and how it came about?
Sure. Actually, my son that the book is really about is Johnny. He's 42-year-old young man with profound multiple disabilities. He was born with cytomegalovirus, CMV. And I have 3 other children as well. I have all adult sons.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a boy mom. But the story has really been living inside of me for all these years. And it just been probably about 3 years ago that I felt a very strong calling to write the story. Um, it was, if not now, when kind of
Mm-hmm.
a thing. And I really believe that God's timing is perfect. And then in all these years, it's been a preparation to share this very personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
Writing memoir, there's a lot of vulnerability in it. And there's also a craft involved.
Mm-hmm.
And so, although I had a story to write, I needed to learn how to do it first. And that started about 20 years ago. The book itself, I believe this is a story that's going to resonate with people, not just families or parents that have children with special needs, but I think that it's relatable in terms of the grief, the
Mm-hmm.
shattered dream, the grit. That's kind of your advocacy, showing up. And then the glory. There's faith and hope in the story.
Mm-hmm. I love that so much because I know there for a long time, I would be like, I don't want to read another memoir because I always felt like it was just so kind of one sided, like there wasn't
Mhm.
maybe a lesson in it for me, to get out of. I mean, it's always interesting to hear somebody's story, but I love that you put so much emphasis on the title of it because that is what it's about. And I think gosh, a fellow special needs mom, grief alone, right? Just the grieving process over and over and over, that we face. And you're 20 years ahead of me, so I could ask you so many questions about that, Pamela, for
Mhm.
sure. But, I so appreciate it. And then just, factoring in, the grit that goes with it and then all the glory that we're given to God through it. And then just getting to see each other's experiences. And especially as, you know, I hear from so many people that are in the season of life, maybe the same age season of life as us, but, they're caring for aging parents. And that is quite a shock sometimes, what comes with that, or they're in the sandwich season. And I think it all takes, right? Grief, grit, and glory comes into play with that. So talk to me a little bit about like if someone is just encountering this new reality in their life, whether it's, like me, a son diagnosed with something, or you, when, after birth, or is it entering into that caretaking season? Maybe it's caring for your parents. What tips would you share for them to realize, they can still grieve that their life is changing and it's not looking the same way they thought it was going to look, while also, loving what's ahead?
I think that no matter what, you're never quite prepared for
Mm-hmm.
whatever that chapter is, whatever the journey entails. Um, I think that first you need to identify that it's hard,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not planned for, and the emotions that are attached to whatever that is for you. I think it's so individual we all have different dreams.
Mhm.
And for me, I was 24 when my son was born, and he was my third child. And at that time, I didn't have like a big future planned. But when the doctors told me his prognosis and what will lie ahead, I just felt so ill equipped
Mhm.
to handle it that I wasn't that kind of a mom. I
Okay.
looked at those moms, they were special moms, and that wasn't me. And so there was a fear. I think I was scared of the change that was bringing into my family. Uh, but I also had faith that God wouldn't bring this to me without helping me through it.
Mhm.
And I think that what I learned was in my vulnerability, I discovered strength. The way I was raised was emotions were weak.
Mhm.
And that was really ingrained in me. But this was something I couldn't shake. This was something that I couldn't just, it wasn't going to go away. The emotions and the feelings of sadness, the feelings of overwhelm, all of those things in the initial stages, they were just confusing for me
Mhm.
because I didn't have anybody to really help me. Nobody could tell me what to do. There wasn't a book out there that said, this is what you're experiencing and this is how to do it. So I had to rely on kind of instinct,
Mhm.
intuition, and other people.
Mhm.
And in reaching out, I think to other people, and I don't mean just any people,
Mhm.
I learned to be very selective who I chose to maybe mentor me through those feelings. And they gave me feedback that by sharing, by crying, by expressing what I was really going through, and I did that when I developed a trust with them
Mhm.
that they could handle my feelings because I was so afraid to show them, but they had to come out. And so they did. And when I expressed them and they were interpreted as strong and not weak, it encouraged me to go a little bit deeper and share a little bit more. And these are people that were involved in early intervention.
Mhm.
In California, we have a regional center system. And so the first person that was brought into my life was very significant in that that's where I needed help navigating. Nobody really understood what was going on, especially me.
Mhm.
And as I started learning how to open up and talk about it, what I was told was that I was expressing things that were going to help them work with other families.
Mhm.
By talking about it, by letting them in, that helped them not just with me, but then how to navigate support for other people that they were working with.
Mhm.
And so I wasn't just taking, I was also giving. And that changed and shifted my perspective of what support looked like and how to, I guess, build a team of
Mhm.
safe people. And I was told early on that when there's people that come into your life that are judging or, aren't helpful,
Mhm.
you know, to just to put them aside and to move
Yeah.
on. And that was really great advice because you can't please everybody. Not everybody's going to understand why you do what you do. And especially when you're parenting a child with special needs, it's your child, it's your family, and you know what they don't know. And
Mhm.
they haven't walked in your shoes. And it's a trial and error. Nobody's going to do it perfectly. But you do need to have people around that are going to be in your corner
Mhm.
and encourage you when you're low and help you.
Yeah, that's so agree. And I don't, I know I would not have made it this far in the journey that I'm on without my fellow moms that get it, as well as just, other moms that just want to pray for me and they may not have any clue
Mm,
what's going on and they try to understand it, but they don't, but they'll still pray for me, and
yeah.
help, give me resources as they can. So I'm just, so thankful for that. Well, so talk about, because I know you also run a wine business, which just like could gush and talk about that the whole time because there's definitely been many glasses of wine in my past, that have gotten me through this journey. But can you talk about how we can stay connected, to what matters most to us when we are navigating these uncertain futures and especially like for you, running a business at the same time?
Well, for me, my journey of mothering was back in the 1980s. And so things were different then. I think that the expectations of having to balance your career and your family life,
Mhm.
it's a little bit different. I think there's a lot more demands on moms today.
Mhm.
For me, I actually was not in the wine business when my son was born. It
Mhm.
was something that developed as the years started progressing. So
Mhm.
it was my husband at the time. He became a winemaker, but in the early days, we were doing a barrel of wine in the garage.
Mhm.
So I would say it was more of a hobby business. And then for me, balancing, I think just family was the priority and, moms know how to multitask
Mhm.
and you do what you have to do. But for the thing that was different with my son, Johnny, is I couldn't do it by myself. And
Mhm.
I really needed to rely on other people for support. And early on, when I was more in I would say initially, um, I don't want to say crisis, but
Mhm.
it was the most stressful time
Mhm.
is when John's first year of life. And it was 24/7 type of care. And I had
Mhm.
2 young children. And at that point, it was my church family
Mhm.
that stepped in and came to my house, picked up laundry, and took my kids to school and their little soccer game or whatever. But I was really dependent on other people, but yet I was the type of person that I wanted to be doing that for others.
Mhm.
It was very hard to be a receiver. And a pastor told me once because I was really struggling with that. And he said, Pam, Jesus wants us to receive.
Mhm.
That's the place he wants you to be and to be open to that. So I've allowed myself to kind of go into those places of where I feel I'm very needy and change and shift the mindset to um, I'm receiving
Mhm.
and then be able to do that for others.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. And I know you've done lots of advocacy things, and that alone can be just its own calling in itself. So I so commend you for doing that and, just paving the way and making it a little bit easier, hopefully, for the next generation of moms that come behind us. So let's talk about as we're recording this, we're just a few weeks out from your book launch, which is super, super exciting, like having another baby, I know. So
Thank
tell
you.
us, what are you doing today to reach readers and share about your message?
Yeah, thank you. Writing the book was one thing. I know this is what the top of your podcast is.
Uh huh.
Uh, And then marketing, getting the book out there to the readers, that's a whole different process.
Uh huh.
And I know a lot of writers struggle with it because the writing itself is kind of the artistic craft.
Mhm.
And then the rest of it is more on a business side.
Mhm.
And to transition to do that is a little challenging. For me, I wasn't in the writing business. I was in the wine business and I
Mhm.
loved connecting wine to people that liked wine.
Yeah.
And so I always knew that once I got into this phase of the book business, I would like it. I knew
Uh-huh.
I would love it. And the reason I love it so much is because it's a connection. It
Mhm.
connects me to people. And my story about Johnny is a connector and always has been. And that's why my advocacy, I think, has been effective in changing some of the policies and laws in the state of California that have moved it to a more family friendly
Mhm.
system, which it wasn't like that before. When my son was a baby,
Mhm.
they didn't have mother support groups. There was nothing. There
Mhm.
was nothing available. And so I created that for my own need, and then that ended up kind of caring for others too.
Mhm.
In terms of the book and reaching new audiences, I think it's first I'm reaching out to my inner circle. My husband is also helping do some of that outreach. Um, I've engaged with the CMV Foundation, which is what caused my son's disability. I got a virus when I was pregnant. It's called congenital CMV. And June is CMV Awareness Month. And so it just happens to coincide with the launch of my book, which
Yeah.
is June 2nd. So my book, Grief, Grit, Glory, A Mother's Extraordinary Journey from Heartbreak to Hope. It's published by Morgan James, and it will be wherever books are sold. My website, griefgritglory.com. You can reach out to me personally if anybody's interested in knowing more about my story. I'm excited about launching this book. I've been sharing advanced reader copies to people. I do have an ebook version that's available for anybody that does a pre-order. They also can reach out and get a downloadable ebook. So it will come out in ebook form the day it's launched. And then from there, people will receive their book. I have been getting feedback, and it's been very heartwarming for me to have people connect with the story. But I will also be honest and say it's been really difficult and anxiety ridden as well, because the book is about my family. And I
Yeah.
needed to make sure it was okay with everybody before getting it published. My sons are embracing it, and it's been just a wonderful opportunity for us to reconnect with our family story that they actually didn't know.
Yeah.
They're older, and I don't know about you, Kim, but for me, I just kind of keep moving my life forward.
Uh-huh.
I don't go back. I mean, this has caused me to go back, but I really haven't talked to them about the things that made me the kind of a mother that I am, the kind of person that I am, these character building moments that you develop when you go through hard things.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's such a different perspective. I can think about that with my older son because when they get to be adults, they definitely have a different perspective on things and they start kind of thinking about the future too, and it's so interesting, yeah, to be able to talk to them about it. But I'm the same way. Like I think that's a great way to do it though, is through a book, right? Let them read the book and then ask questions about what were things like back then because they have a different memory of how things were back then. My other son is the younger one, so yeah, it's such an interesting journey that they've been on, and I hope there's a lot more support than there is today for siblings, and I think it's
I
just, yeah,
agree.
they're just such a great way to champion it and, tell a different perspective on it. Well, oh gosh, so I know you also are just getting started with PodMatch, which I'm super excited because that's where we connected, and I can't wait to see your name pop up on future interviews where you get to connect with some hosts through there because I think it's an incredible story that you have to share and just to be able to share, with different listeners and different communities about how they too can learn from your journey, and learn the experiences and stories from there and see how it applies to their own lives. So I'm just so excited for it to come out. And get to see what God does with it, Pamela, for sure, because I'm sure He has big things planned to get your message out there. So I just thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Kim. And I just wanted to also say I listened to one of the other podcasts and it really resonated with me. It was the one on Refuse to Settle.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, so I really like how you interview and the topics that you
Oh, thank
bring to your
you. Thank
podcast.
you. Well, I feel like everybody has such an incredible story to share. And so, yeah, I think that one was aired today with my friend Julie. And yeah, just how it can apply to all of us. So we're trying to write our stories. And like you said in the very beginning, just sharing something super vulnerable. And like you said, writing it and then marketing it is two different things. And so I just kind of want to bring those together and yeah, just get our messages out there and share them, far and wide like God's calling us to. So again, thank you so much for your time today. This has been incredible.
Thank you so much.
Oh gosh, I hope you were inspired as much as I was. I so admire how Pamela's being obedient to her calling, even all these years later. And if what you heard piqued your interest or you know a caregiver who might be inspired by Pamela's book, I hope you'll send them this conversation or a link to her book. And I'm so grateful for you tuning into Book Marketing Mania today. And as always, I'll be there for you next episode to help you reach and serve your readers one podcast at a time. See you then.